Welcome to So True. And today's devotional is entitled, Don't Be a Coward, and it comes from Revelation 21 and verse 8. In the 1930s, Churchill was upset at his fellow parliamentarians for looking the other way as the Nazis consolidated power in Germany. As he looked over the political landscape in Britain, his own Conservative Party consisted of appeasers. The opposite party, Labour, was pacifist. Confronting this cowardice, Churchill addressed the House of Commons with a story from his childhood. Quote, "When I was a child, my nanny used to take me every May to the Barnum and Bailey circus. But there was one show I was never allowed to look at. She said, 'Winston, it is too revolting a spectacle for the human eye.' It was called The Boneless Wonder. And now after all these years, where do I finally see this freak show? Not in a circus, but in the House of Commons. And all around me, the boneless wonders." I love that story. And it is a reminder that temptation to cowardice is a clear and present danger in every generation. We are all capable, are we not, of being boneless wonders in the face of death, physical harm, loneliness, conflict, rejection, and financial loss for the sake of the gospel. Faced with a cancel culture, faced with charges of bigotry, faced with having to say no to people we love or seek to love, we would rather sit down than stand up. Too many Christians are showing undue fear and cowardice in defending the gospel, exposing evil, and standing up for what is right. I think of Psalm 78 and verse 9, where we read of the tribe of Ephraim that they ran away, or they ran from the battle. And I hope that is not true, and I hope that is not true of you or me. We're not to run from the fight, but we're run to the fight. While we're all capable of growing weak at the knees in the face of overwhelming circumstances or vicious enemies, cowardice as a spirit or as a way of life is a deadly and damning thing. Deadly and damning because in Revelation 21 verse 8, we find a list of 8 groups of people who are sent to hell. And to our surprise and shock, the very first group mentioned are the cowardly. Now, in terms of sins, it would not be at the top of my list or your list. But if you think about it, cowardice is a mother sin in that it gives birth to other sins. Cowardice made Abraham lie to Pharaoh about his wife. Cowardice pushed Aaron into idolatry with the golden calf. Cowardice drove the 10 spies to give a bad report about the promised land. Cowardice caused Elijah to run from the threats of Queen Jezebel. Cowardice makes us run when we should stand. Cowardice makes us remain silent when we should speak. And when it's married to unbelief, it spawns disobedience, which is a deadly serious thing. In fact, think of the words of Jesus in Matthew 10, 28 to 33, where he warned us in an act of cowardice, if we deny him before men, he will deny us before the Father. Is anything more serious than Jesus denying us or disowning us before the Father on the day of judgment? So cowardice is deadly. Cowardice is damning as a way of life. But while it is deadly and damning, thank God, by God's grace, it can be defeated. And the remedy is fearing God rather than fearing man or a set of circumstances. You might want to look up Job 4 verse 6, Proverbs 14:27, Psalm 19:9, and Matthew 10:28. They're all verses on the need to fear God. And when we fear God, we will not fear man. The reason we fear man and circumstances so much is because we fear God so little. And what is the fear of God? It's a view of God proportionate to the greatness and glory of God, the God of heaven and earth, and it allows us to shrink our fears. It clarifies the puniness of man, and it points ultimately to the vanity of life in the face of eternity. Now, let me go back to our examples and turn them to the positive. Because if we fear God, then we can overcome fear and cowardice. It was the fear of God that made Abraham obey the Lord and offer up his son Isaac. It was the fear of God that enabled Aaron to stand before Pharaoh and demand the release of the Israelites. It was the fear of God that gave two of the spies, Joshua and Caleb, the faith to believe in victory over the Canaanites. And it was the fear of God that empowered Elijah to stand before King Ahab. Those who once feared no longer when they feared God. As we close, courage is not the absence of fear in the normal sense of that word. It's the presence of a right fear. Courage doesn't mean we are oblivious or deny the danger that surrounds us. It simply means we're more conscious of God than man or God than circumstances. It's the thought of God that overshadows us. It's the thought of God's greatness and grace that overwhelms us. God, keep us from becoming boneless wonders in life and in the pursuit of his kingdom. God, make us fearless in the fear of God.